So now we've got the experiences of Sasha, 18 years old, finishing high school, came at 6 years old. English was a second language, and the experiences that a young person has who grew up through primary, through intermediate, and through high school, I think is quite interesting. I look forward to this. I'll probably learn something new.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Sasha. As you said, I'm 18, just turned 18, and going to be graduating this year. So I'm on year 13 at high school. Pretty much I've just got like 15 things I thought people might wonder about that I could just answer pretty much. There's education structure. So pretty much preschool, like kindy, 3 to 5 years old, probably the same in most countries. Then primary, you start school when you're 5, and you go into year 1. I started when I was 6, so I actually missed year 1 and went straight into year 2. What I remember from that is going into reading, because I really could not read at all. And I was put into the lowest reading group with one other boy, and there was like groups slightly better, and then like really good readers. And yeah, from what I remember, the teachers were really good with letting you work to your own ability and progress in your own time by splitting everyone up, not just teaching everyone together. And yeah, and by the end of the year, I was in the top group actually, which I was quite proud about. Yeah, had little cute names like penguins and owls and things like that. It wasn't just like worst to best kind of group names. Yeah, and in primary also I remember doing creative writing, doing like little recounts about the weekends and things like that. Arts, learning to do paper mache and painting. I remember we had to draw one of our teachers once. Swimming's a really big part of school. Pretty much all kids know how to swim. You don't really get taught how to swim at school, but you're kind of expected to know. So I was new to that, so I had to take some extra swimming lessons outside of school. Yeah, from primary I also remember that teachers were encouraging kids to mix with all kind of kids, I guess. I remember I had a few friends who were Down syndrome in primary, and it was really like good thinking back on it, how teachers were encouraging everyone to be inclusive of each other. Yeah, and teachers, yeah, as Yvonne said, they really do care, and they make sure that that you're okay and that they do help. I remember they'd even make sure that we're eating enough at lunchtime. You had to show them your lunchbox before you leave the eating area to see if you've eaten enough. Yeah, so that's experience with primary has been good, I think. Intermediate, so you go into intermediate, you're about 11 years old. That's for 2 years, so you're year 7 and year 8. And that starts to be a bit more preparing you for high school. So it, yeah, the structure's more like high school, so you have 5 classes a day. They're a bit more, make you a bit more punctual, kind of give you homework, although I don't really remember doing homework that much. I don't think it's like a big priority to do. I think it's quite optional. Like I know a lot of my friends do a lot of homework, but I somehow get away with not doing that much. And then high school, yeah, start when you're 13. You go into year 9. It goes up to year 13. Year 9 and 10 are juniors. Year 11, 12, 13 are seniors. And yeah, when you're year 9, you have set subjects that you have to take. So it's English, maths, PE, science, and social studies. And then you have like 1 or 2 options that you get to choose from, things like cooking or drama, music, things like that. And yeah, the older you get, the less things you have to do, like things drop off like science, PE, and then you have more options of what you want to take, and then they get things like graphics and things that are a bit more specific to a job as you get older. With Yvonne touched on this with disability, kids with disabilities, all kinds of disabilities, like they have a lot of options with classes in high school. Like they have, obviously they do take classes with everyone else, like English and things like that. But they also have other classes. There's a class called World where they just learn about like cultures and foods and things like that. And they still can do assignments on it and pass or fail. And so I think it's really inclusive of everyone all the time, and there's always help offered at school as well. We have about 5 counsellors at our school, and I think they're always really like busy. They're obviously free, and you can go any time of the day that you want. And see them. There's support groups as well, like LGBT groups and anti-bullying groups, and so that's my education structure point. Public and private schools. So I went to a public primary school and a public high school. I went to a private intermediate, and pretty much I guess it's up to what people want to do. Private is obviously you have to pay for, whereas public is free. You can do school donations as well. They're like $250. That's kind of expected almost, and you pay for your own stationery and things like that, sports trips and that kind of stuff. School zones, so in big cities like Auckland, if you live in a certain area, you have to go to a school in that area, and that's determined by the decile rating of the area and the school that you go to. But you can find all of that online through the schools and what their ratings are. And some places like smaller cities like here, and you can go to any school that you want if it's not in your area, because it doesn't really matter. I guess it's like a smaller city. That's probably why. Girls and boys schools. So I went to a girls' high school, and personally I enjoyed it. Don't know if it was because it was a girls' school or because I just had good friends. I don't think one is better than the other. I think it just really is like a personal preference. I had friends that left girls' college and they moved to a mixed school and they had a much better time there. I have friends that moved from the mixed school to girls' college and now they're having a much better time here. So, there's been a lot of movement, but by year 13, I think everyone's quite like settled where they are. Yes, special aid, I guess I kind of touched on that, but there's special teachers that help out kids that I guess are a bit naughty and they don't want to work, and they have the ability to work but they don't want to, so they even have special teachers that come around and sit next to them, make sure they're writing the essay and things like that. There's also translators for kids that can't speak at all if they come from other countries, and then there's like people that work with kids with like mental disabilities and things, and they follow them through classes and help them understand tasks and things like that. School terms, so it's 10-week terms. There's 4 of them. As one term happens, then there's a 2-week holiday, another term, 2-week holiday, another term, 2-week holiday. I don't know how many I said. And then the 4th one, and it's the 6-week summer holidays at the end of that. For seniors in high school, they finish in November because they go on exam leave. And so you have your leave and then you go into your exams and you do your exams. A school day is pretty much, you have 5 periods, so 5 different classes. I'm not sure if other schools are different, but I know my school has period 1, period 2, then we have an interval of 25 minutes, period 3, period 4, lunch, which is about an hour long, and period 5 at the end. And school finishes around 3:15 or 3. Food-wise to bring, I think most schools you bring your own food. I think there might be some that do school lunches. But yeah, I've always brought my own. So something for interval, something for lunch. Sun hats are really important in primary. You're not allowed to leave the classroom if you don't have your sun hat. Otherwise, you have to sit inside. There's also sunblock always available for kids playing outside. Uniform. So there's schools that have uniforms, schools that don't, schools that are half. So you just wear like a t-shirt, a school t-shirt, and whatever you want. Uniforms can be quite expensive, but there's second-hand options, and there is like financial aids as well that schools can help out with. Buses, I think they go pretty much everywhere. I know a girl that lives about an hour and a half from school, and she catches like 3 different buses to get to school every day, but she makes it every day and she makes it home. Some are free. I know the one that I caught was free, but I think most buses you have to get a bus card that you pay for, I think like $30, and you get stamps every time you go on the bus. Extracurricular activities are really popular, especially in primary. Like kids are doing 3, 4, 5 different things after school. Swimming is a big one, because especially when you're younger, to learn how to swim. Then like music, joining bands, drama, all kinds of dance, cadets sort of thing. I know it was called Penguins when I did it, and it was just learning little marches and things like that. And then art. In high school, there's a lot of groups, so you join like enviro groups, and they organise like climate strikes and things like that. And then like student council and things like that also get quite popular as you get older. Medical and dental. So dental care is free for kids up to 18 years old. So you get a yearly checkup, and then if you need something, a filling or something, then that's all free until you're 18. I know some schools have a dentist that comes in and they just check kids one by one, so they don't have to actually go to a dentist to get them checked. Otherwise, yeah, doctors do cost like $30 an appointment. I'm guessing depending what it is. As you get older, if you want extensions for homework and projects at school, you have to get a medical certificate for it to actually be processed as an extension. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know, it's just a process that you have to do. So you go to your doctor and they pretty much say, like, yeah, she has been sick and she needs this time for her schoolwork. Yeah, and my last point is pretty much focusing on year 13 and what's been happening. I've noticed that I used to think, looking up at the year 13s, that they all know what they want to do with their lives and who they want to be, and like they're old and smart, but they're not at all, and like no one really knows what they want to do. Like even at this point in September, people aren't 100% sure on what they want to do, but high school does offer a lot of uni information. Like we have a lot of people from unis visiting and talking about courses, handing out like pamphlets. They explain things about the halls and the student loans, and so the information is all there. A lot of people also encourage gap years. I know a lot of friends that travelled, or some that just didn't know what to do. They stayed here and they saved money by working, or others, yeah, just had a gap year or 2 or 3 because they just weren't quite sure what they needed to do. For people that do want to go to university and they do know straight away, they of course have to get university entrance in year 13, and that's pretty much you have to pass 3 subjects, over 14 credits, and it doesn't matter how you pass them, just as long as you get the 14 credits. Then you have your literacy and your numeracy from like year 11 and year 12, which is quite easy to have. And yeah, that's your university entrance. Of course, some university courses you need other things, like you've had to take in physics or maths as a subject, but others you don't really need any pre-requirements. And scholarships is the last thing. There's a lot of scholarships available for universities, varying between $5,000 and about $40,000 that you could get. And they cover a lot of bases. There's like this one scholarship I heard about that's for people with like mental disabilities, I guess, and so that counts as like girls or guys that have gone through depression or anxiety and things. Like that's a special scholarship for them. And then yeah, there's just a lot of options with scholarships, and it's like really easy to apply for, and schools do give you a lot of information on how to do things. And yeah, so I think they're quite good with setting you up for the future, in primary for intermediate for high school for after. And that's probably what I've taken away from school the most, and that everyone cares about each other, especially the teachers. They care about you. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, yeah. All right, so any questions from anyone? You can type it out, or you can raise your hand and I'll let you speak just here. I did have a memory of going to the girls' school with Sasha, and these girls were coming to introduce themselves to the parents walking into the school. And I thought, wow, I mean, and they actually had a coherent thing to say and to point things out, and they were very helpful with pamphlets, and I thought that was really cool. And we were going to show Sasha like 3 schools, I think. We had 3 that we were going to show. We made it to the first one, the one that she's in, and she said, no, this is good. We just decided to stay. So that was just an interesting story I thought I would throw out there. Would you remember what that was like, why you decided to stay? What was your impression?
I don't know. I can't really think of a particular reason. I know a lot of friends that like that's what mattered for me, is because a lot of friends were going to this school, but also I think it was just a nice, tidy looking school, and how everyone presented themselves was really like friendly and just seemed like a good atmosphere. I just kind of felt for it, I guess.
And the other memory I've got that I think stands out apart as far as New Zealand being a different place, they teach the haka to everyone. I mean, basically, you always have a chance to learn the haka if you want to and participate, right? It's the same one that you see in the rugby, exactly the same one.
Yeah.
It's quite cool, I thought.
Yeah, that is quite cool. And I remember in primary there was this girl, you probably saw her, she had really blonde hair, and she was like the girl that would like lead the haka like in front of all the boys and everything. And like, yeah, it was just really cool to see that.
So this brings to light also the cross-cultural influence and encouragement that is often, it's basically that's the way, that's the only way. I mean, you get along with everyone. Everyone goes through the school. Everyone graduates if they want to. It doesn't matter, who they are and as far as learning, and it doesn't matter, like the culture is accepted. And that's very much part of the New Zealand culture, is that every culture is appreciated and accepted, and that's the default. And that's how you have to think. I mean, basically, it's like another idea I just had. When we came to your primary school, Mrs. What was her name?
Which primary school?
The first one. The first one.
Mrs.
Booth. Oh yeah, Mrs. Booth. Right. She used to sit people around on the floor.
Mm.
That was quite different.
Yeah, we actually still do that in high school. We have this class that we've just started testing out, and it's a mix of all year groups. So it has 3 from year 9, 3 from year 10, 3 year 11, and so onwards. And it's just like half an hour of just kind of hanging out together sort of thing. And yeah, and we do sit in a circle on Mondays. We talk about highlights of weekends and lowlights and what's worrying us and things like that, which is quite quite interesting to see what they're testing out doing in school.
So we have a couple of questions. Firstly, thanks, Dawn. You said to everyone. Thanks, Sasha. Very informative. My sons have been through high school, and what you're saying is really well put. So well done. On her way to being a communications major already. Okay. And then we have a private question from someone who asks if Sasha could explain more about the decile score in schools. What is your take on that from your point of view? What's that about?
Well, from what I know, it's the like social economic like ranking. So it's on the community and that's around the school, and it gives a number that they can put on the school from I guess what it's trying to say, from bad to good, kind of 1 to 10. But yeah, I don't know. I guess you'd want to be in a school maybe above like 5.
Average, I don't know. You just between you and I on public internet, coming from abroad and then going into a school with a very low decile rating can put your kids in contact with children who are from alcohol families and abusive families and things like that. Not saying it doesn't exist everywhere. It does. There's different things exist in different places, yes, but there will be just bigger numbers of that, and it goes to the funding and so on. So yeah, it's probably not entirely PC to say, but I mean, that's the reality of it, according to many people that have told me about that. So you want to just visit the school. I think it goes back to what Yvonne said. Don't cross anything off the list, but you want to visit the school and get a feeling for it, because your gut feeling is probably going to be right. Another thing I remember is the swimming lessons. Like they would say swimming lessons like are mandatory, and it's actually cold for me with a jacket, and they have to be swimming. So I thought that was quite odd, because they're so health and safety conscious, but at the same time, you have to go swimming in the cold.
Yeah.
So Sunny says, oops, no, never mind. Yvonne says, my kids are in decile 9, very happy. First school was decile 3 and moved. Okay, well, there you go. All learning curves again. All right. And then someone says, our son is 7, will go straight into the age group where he was tested to see where he's at.
Here's a question. Will he go straight into his age group, or he just... no, if he's 7, he'll go into the age group, not academically, especially in primary, because it's such big variety in the ages of people's abilities. So they don't just put the abilities in separate classes, they put the ages in classes together, and then they work with that. How I said with my reading group, that she would work with us who couldn't read as well, work with us more, and there'd be kids that are reading like almost like chapter books because they're that good at reading. So yeah, he'll just go into an age group and he'll just progress from there. 7, he'll probably go into year 3 at school. Yeah.
So I guess the real effort is that everyone's gonna be fine in the school in the level that their age is, and then if it's seen better over time, they just test it out, and whatever's better for the child, they'll make a decision later. At least that's the idea. Mm. Do you have any bullying stories?
Not really. I don't know. I must have been really lucky, not really personally, but that I've been around a lot of it. Obviously, hearing from what's happened to people, or even, at school, I remember there was a girl that stood up in front of the whole school and she told everyone about what's been happening to her during school, and a lot of us obviously had no idea that any of this was even happening, and it was quite bad it was quite bad how bad she got, really. It was become like self-harm and things like that. But what she was promoting was the help that she did get, because she she personally thought the school counsellors didn't really help her, so she got a different one, like a paid one, and she said that really made the difference, and it allowed her to speak. And then now she was able to speak in front of a whole school and tell them all about it, with the bullies probably sitting in the audience, and she was like, talk about it.
So Sasha's with a group of friends that have a friend who's special needs, and it's genuine friend. I mean, they go out, they're texting all the time. They're telling jokes with each other, and it's really cool to see, because I didn't see that when I was growing up in the States. I mean, public school there, I mean, forget it. It's nearly, I mean, I won't call it a prison, but it's just the feeling is uncomfortable all the time. And here, I don't get that feeling walking through. I don't get the feeling that other kids have that feeling. You know, it's not this segregated and, you know, trying to be cool all the time and sort of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I ought to throw that out there. Thanks, Cliff, for that joke. I laughed at an inappropriate time. Someone said, "Don't mess with Sasha; she'll kick your butt." All right. My daughter will be 3 when we arrive in New Zealand. Does she need to attend church? Does it say church, crèche or school? Or can she stay with my godmother for a while?
I don't think you have to go to like kindy when you're 3.
We don't have to.
So yeah, but school you do. So when you're on your 5th birthday, you pretty much go to school, or the day after. That's when you start school. So no matter what time of year your birthday is, and yeah. So I think 3 she can stay with godmother for a while. That should be all good.
And someone else asks if it's is kindly expensive and from what age? No, is kindy expensive and from what age? Also have an 18-month-old. I
think kindy is free. Probably most of them would be, unless it's like a donation. There's I saw an advertising it said that it was a kindy one, and their poster said 30 hours free. So that's probably an hour's base that's free, and then if you need your kids to be at it for longer, then you probably pay.
So coming in as a foreigner, not a big problem. There are effective ways to manage that. Coming in and being afraid of not meeting people, that's also correct me if I'm wrong, but what maybe you can talk to that. Let's say there's someone at different ages, whatever, they're coming in and their English is not so good because they're coming from a family that speaks another language at first. So what is the experience that person will have from week 1 or month 1 or whatever it is?
Yeah, I think that the worst feeling would be right before you're about to go to school on your first day, and you're just thinking about everything, and obviously probably thinking the worst. And but I think after that day of school, you're 99% chance you'll come back really happy, because you've met a lot of people, especially if you start at the start of a year or at the start of a term. Everyone's just fresh, and teachers will make a really good effort to include all new students with students that have already been there, especially if you're older. I think they'll try harder because they know it's more scary the older you get to come into a new school, a new country. I think it's nothing to worry about. I think most kids know that you got to be nice to people and you can't be rude to them because, I don't know, they don't speak the language or something. I think people would be good and inclusive, or they should be, and if they're not, there's always someone you can talk to about it that can help.
Here's another thing that just came to my mind, and I have probably room for 1 or 2 more questions if anyone wants to ask them. It just came to my mind how important it is for everyone to know the Maori culture, aspects of it. It's just all through, isn't it? Different parts.
Yeah, you learn like every year, and probably up until like year 10, I learned about the Treaty of Waitangi, and like learnt the same thing about how it happened and the signing the contract, and everyone will learn about that, I'm sure, when they come to school. But yeah, just things like that have happened in history that have been big. Someone just mentioned the Treaty of Waitangi is essential learning for children and adults. Like really big part of it. And then songs, you learn a lot of Maori waiatas songs, and hakas. Boys that play rugby, they do hakas before their games, like they still do. There's just a lot of culture that gets incorporated. You learn how to count and just using words like the menus at my work, they say kai, not food. Like kai means food in Maori, and that's just what it says on the menu. Like you'll just see little things around that are just cultural. Yeah.
Yeah. So it does permeate from school into society. Like Sean that I worked with, he would say, "Oh, how's the whānau?" It just people would do that. Family. How's the family? Whānau. Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably pronounced it slightly wrong, but anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for this contribution that you've done here with us. And, thank you, Sasha, for this work that you've put through. This is great. Handwritten, right?
Thanks for having me.
So I think this is a great thing. We have a little community here, and we're all about helping people come through, and our focus is on South Africans coming through, and we're part of this closed Facebook group that has 10,000 something, nearly 11,000 members, which is amazing. And it's great to be part of this group. I'm really glad that we're inclusive as well, following along with New Zealand culture somewhat. So yeah, I guess with that, I guess I'll sign off. We'll see you next week, same time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.